This is example 5 from the PowerPoint. It says how many grams of sodium carbonate would be required to make 500 milliliters of a solution, write that down, 500 milliliters of a solution with an Na plus concentration of 0.100 moles per liter. Okay, and we're starting off with sodium carbonate. Okay, so the first thing to look at is when sodium carbonate dissolves in water, it breaks up into ions, all right? Breaks up into sodium ions and carbonate ions. And we need to balance this. There's 2 sodiums here. We need 2 sodiums here. So what this is telling us is for every 1 mole of sodium carbonate we put in, we're going to get 2 moles of sodium ions. So we can write a conversion factor that says 1 mole of sodium carbonate equals 2 moles of sodium ion. Okay? So this is how we can convert from the moles of sodium carbonate we're starting with to moles of sodium ion. So let's start off with finding out how many moles of sodium ion we need. Then we can talk about the sodium carbonate. All right? So let's start off with our 500 milliliters. We have 500 milliliters, and we want to know how much sodium we need to put in there to make a 0.1 molar solution. Right? And 0.1 molar means 0.1 moles per liter. And I said on the last video, if you watch that, I always use my molarities as conversion factors. So this means that if you had 1 liter, you would have 0.001 moles of sodium. Okay? So, but I don't have 1 liter, right? I only have half a liter. I only have 500 milliliters. So before I can apply this conversion factor, I need to convert this into liters. All right? If I did the math right now, the milliliters cancel out. If I did the math right now, I'd get liters of solution. Now I can add my molarity. Liters cancel out. So if I did the math right now, what I'd get would be moles of sodium ion. So what this is telling you is in order to make 500 milliliters of a 0.1 molar sodium ion solution, do the math right here. That would tell you how many moles of sodium ion that you need to add. So that's good so far, but really I want to know how much sodium carbonate to add. So we have a conversion factor right here that tells us for every 1 mole of sodium carbonate I add, I get 2 moles of sodium ion. Okay? So moles of sodium ion cancel out. What this tells you is how many moles of sodium carbonate we need to add to make our solution. And this is good so far, but one more conversion factor because we really want to know how many grams. So molar mass of the sodium carbonate is 105.99 grams per mole. So what that means is if I had 1 mole of sodium carbonate, I'd have a mass of 105.99 grams. Right? Moles of sodium carbonate cancel out. All you have left is grams. So you're going to get an answer in terms of grams of sodium carbonate. So now I'd pull out my calculator, and I get 2.65 grams. All right? I've rounded this to 3 significant figures because our starting numbers both had 3 significant figures.